Hey everybody, this is Ryan with Cattler here with Dr. Spencer Wolten. The goal behind this conversation is to talk a little bit about Veterinaries Day that's coming around April 30th, and we thought it was a good idea to have a conversation. And kind of there is no pre-recorded kind of questions, just a guideline of what we want to talk about, but ultimately was to give a glimpse into the vet world and kind of show you guys what it's all about. How are you doing today, Dr. Wolten?
Oh, pretty good. It's a background that's blurred, but I'm actually sitting in a planter today. So not being a vet today, but trying to get some corn in the ground before rain later this week. What about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Trying to get some work done and trying to create this new segment for people on Cattler. We're just trying to show a little bit more content and what really happens behind real work at any yard, basically. So if you can introduce yourself, kind of name, what do you do, and where did you study?
Yeah, so I'm Spencer Walter. I graduated from vet school at the University of Minnesota a couple years ago. It's also where I ended up doing undergrad at. And I actually came back to a place that I interned when I was in college, which is a veterinary clinic based out of Worthington, Minnesota. So our vet clinic is called Southwest Veterinary Services, and we help all different companies from FBN, Cattler. We ran into your work on some of the feed yards that I've used, but I primarily do a lot of feedlot and cow calf work, kind of all over the Midwest. But it's fun. I'm part of a multi-doctor practice, so there's a lot of fun experience around.
Cool. What made you want to go into vet school and pursue this avenue in life? Because when
Yeah,
we've spoken, you're on the road a lot. Like you're
yeah,
on the road. I think last year you said it was your whole about 70 days or something like that.
yeah. It's kind of crazy. So ironically, me sitting in this tractor is I always told people you want what you can't have. And we crop farm, and I always wanted animals. So I was like, how better way to be immersed in animals than becoming a veterinarian, right? The real answer is I love the gray area. Medicine, it's never the same day every day. So there's always something new. Every operation's different. Every solution has to be different and tailored to them. So I prefer large animal, but honestly, a lot of the gray area and fun enigma of practice is on the small animal side too. But it's always the questioning, always something new, always problem solving that really gets me jazzed up.
Cool.
And it gets me out of this tractor, so I don't live in this tractor 365.
Nice. Awesome. And I mean, what is it that you like most about your job, or what's a normal day to day for you? I mean, I know every day is probably very different, but what's a normal day look like, and what do you enjoy
Yeah,
most about it?
yeah. So twofold. The favorite part of my job is what I do every day, and it's working with people and cattle, right? I love the co-relationship between them. So it doesn't matter if I'm on like a big feed yard in Nebraska or if I'm actually with Amish growers, over on the East Coast. It is so fun being able to see like what problems that producer faces and then helping them solve them. We might not solve it just today. It might take months, it might take weeks, but the fun part is like every day my schedule is looking at cattle and working with people and the dynamic between the two of how can this individual particular producer do the best they can for this animal's health and welfare, right? And I kind of try to be the bridge between those two, and that's what gets me excited to wake up every day.
Nice. So I mean, so you got everything. I mean, you have from probably very, very big yards, like we talked a couple of days ago, with huge, massive problems to smaller yards that have, very precise situations that you're trying to solve because they're in a very probably like a pretty niche industry segment of, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. My smallest producer that I work with is actually myself. I have just a few Hereford cows and some pairs that I work with, but it's just a 4-H project I can't let die. But I am the smallest producer, and I have the worst facilities, and I bring it on myself. So
right,
it's funny. You work in very glorious operations, and then I work on my own, and it's just not always sunshine and rainbows.
right. You can't blame the vet there, basically.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
And so I mean, we talked a little bit, what you like about the job, what you normal day looks like. If you know, being in the space, what are kind of some new studies or different elements that you think in this space are worth sharing to somebody who's just browsing through this that you say, hey, some of the new elements in the vet world are, just A, B, and C. Hey, have a look out. This is kind of what I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. So as far as like new things that producers can utilize is the amount of information and tracking and like I don't want to say AI necessarily, but there's so many different platforms to like phone and like cellular tags that would track your bulls and your cattle out on pasture. And my producers in like the sandhills use that, right? And then there's EPDs and genetic testing you can do to figure out like what is the best genetic potential of my herd and how do I increase it, right? So I guess the newest thing is trying to integrate all of these different platforms, right? Because we don't know how to be better unless we know what we did yesterday. So there's not one particular one that's like a smoking bullet. Producers are very diverse and operations are. So whether or not it's this Bluetooth cellular tag or like really in-depth genetic information, or just a recording software, there's so many different ones. But bringing like this technology, like we plant on my corn planter a prescription, right? So it's different seeding rates depending on the soil type. I would just say try to get your feet wet with all the new technology out there. It can really make your life better as a producer and make your production more profitable.
And out of all the segments in the vet world that you see, is there anything that catches your eye the most? Of the calf being born all the way to last days of a heifer, or be it what it is. Is there anything in that whole segment that kind of sparks your interest more, that you like more about doing in the vet world?
Yeah. So my answer is actually that I get to see calves from like the day of age until the packer. So I love that I get the diversity of practice. So, I work with a lot of dairy beef cross calves actually, and that's milk. That's milk. I would have never thought I would have dealt with so many bottle babies being a primarily beef veterinarian, but it's a really fun dynamic that I like to work with, right? And I don't just work with yearling old cattle, right? So 800-900 pounds and above. So that's what I love about my job is that it's always beef. I mean, beef's my favorite, but I love that I can actually see all segments of the production.
It's very cool. And I mean, we kind of touched a little bit, talked a little bit about this, but what are some of these best tips that you would give producers for best tips for health and vet practices that your clients use, or you encourage your clients to use? We talked a little bit about
Yeah.
data, but kind of like anything more particular about it.
Yeah, I would say whatever your goals are as an operation, make sure you involve, the relevant people. So like whether that be a veterinarian or a nutritionist, right? Like I would say there's so many different people in ag that like their lives are dedicated to being experts in it. I mean, it could even be someone for like ventilation for your barn, right? I would say the way I've been able to become a better vet and a better producer, and how I've been able to help my producers is bringing expertise that isn't necessarily readily available to them. So my best advice is reach out to experts, right? You might not be looking for a vet, but reach out to those industry professionals. There's so many of us, and there's so many different flavors in agriculture, right? Like I did a summer as a ventilation expert, or like worked with ventilation experts to try to learn with them. There's so many different pieces that make your operation run. I wouldn't be shy about asking questions and asking for help.
As anything, I mean, having been in the ag world for many years myself, I mean, you do kind of get to realize how niche and how many different segments there are in this world, from ventilation experts to also having people that just focus on the genetics on a specific breed in a specific region,
Yeah,
because that's one of the things that I kind of always found fascinating about this industry. As
yeah.
many years ago I got into it. And one other two last questions to wrap up and get you back on the field. If it's going to rain on Thursday, I don't want to keep you there too long.
Hey, I
Um,
appreciate it.
and how important is it? How important is having data and using maybe a software, but kind of how is so two questions, like how important is data, but how has your practice or your work changed as this integration of data and tracking and software usage? Talk to me a little bit about that on your end.
Yeah, so I kind of alluded a little bit earlier to it, but like we can't be better next time, next year, next calving season, next turn of like feedlot calves coming into your yard, right? Without knowing what we did last time. right? So first off, like it doesn't always need to be fancy and glamorous record keeping. The fancier it is, the more information I as a vet get to use and like build reports. But information is important. So like what vaccines were we using? What did weather do? How many animals did we end up treating? What were we treating with to see if it works? If it did work, maybe a vaccine protocol needs to be changed, or maybe we need a different antibiotic protocol, right? Maybe we need to fix nutrition. There's so many different things, but if we don't write that down, we never know. And
Right.
then as far as me as a vet, like when a producer has an integrated platform, right? Whether it be cattle or a different one, it's awesome because like I could look today. It is sunny. It is like in the mid 50s to 60s and a breeze. Cattle are loving today, right? They're gonna look awesome when I look today. They may have not looked so great last week, right? With all that rain. So I want to know how cattle handled that stress. But I'll never know if we set them up to handle stress properly. I can't look back. So
Right.
having interactive reports, to see, our last 7 days of pulls, look at treatment rate by lot number or pen, all that stuff's really crucial to help me understand what's going on the farm and then help bring the most value to the producer, right? On how we can be better. And that all starts with knowing what we did. And I know that sounds really basic and a little cheesy, but it truly is like so critical, right? And it's so easy to just, quickly do something and set and forget it. It's no different here. I look for planting reasons. I look at how our crop did last year and I adjust our seeding rate depending, right? We try a different variety, but if I didn't have it written down, I would never know, right? So you can't think that that doesn't apply to cattle industry as well.
100%. 100%. And if I could take you a little bit back in time and you could talk to a younger you, what would you tell to somebody who is thinking about getting started in the world that you're in? Kind of what recommendations would you give to a younger you regarding the industry that you're in the vet world and also in the no the cattle world that we're in right now?
Yeah. So I would say to my younger self, I would say like you got to take every opportunity, right? So like I went to school at the U of M, which is primarily dairy focused. I always wanted to do all beef, never thought I'd make it there. And then here I am doing 100% beef, right? Um, so I mean, getting as many experiences as possible. I travel a lot for work. I get to see all sorts of different clients that I never thought I would, but I wouldn't be as equipped as I am, today without having like great mentors and taking every opportunity to learn something new, right? So and I think I try to take advantage of every opportunity, but I still know there's some that I didn't. So I tell myself and other future vets like you got to see what's out there, right? I mean, my friend does epidemiology on poultry, right? That's crazy, but that's not what you think of when you think of bringing your dog in to get rabies vaccinated. So
Right.
there's so many different avenues and it's fun to experience it all, right? So take the chance, take the leap. It's a good time. I love it. I love what I do. So
Right. I appreciate the time. We'll let you get back on the field. Thanks for it and appreciate the time, man.
absolutely. Hey, thanks, Ryan.
Very welcome.